It's been called the biggest fight ever in boxing, and by all accounting measures, it's definitely the richest. Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, Fight Night, Las Vegas. Let's get ready to rumble. They say the art of conversation is to talk about the right thing at the right time, and this is the right place. You're watching The Conversation. Welcome to The Conversation. I'm Ehi Longi, and in the studio with me as usual is Marshall Norball. Hello, Marshall.
Hi.
And joining us on Skype today from Lagos, Nigeria, is sports journalist Colin Udoh. Hello, Colin.
Hello, how are we?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you? Thank you very much for joining us in Fight Week. So let's continue then. Manny Pacquiao, idolized by tens of millions in the Philippines and around the world, after rising to the pinnacle of world boxing with exciting fights all through his career, known to his countrymen as the National Fist. Well, Pacquiao fights undefeated Floyd Money Mayweather on Saturday night to decide who is the world's best pound-for-pound boxer. I can't wait.
And for good reason. Undefeated in his 18-year campaign with a record of 47 wins, no losses.
I believe that is what are you waiting for since 5 years ago. So I think the fight is on and you're very excited. I know you're very excited, and we're both of us we're going to undergo a hard training for this fight, and we will do our best and on May 2 to make you happy. I came from nothing into something, and I owe everything to God. He gave me this blessing, so it's all credit to the Lord.
May 2nd, the fight of the century. It's all about the best, fighting the best. And Pacquiao is one of the best fighters of this era. And everything's about timing. And you know, I think we couldn't choose a better time. When you lose, it's in your mind. If you lost once, it's in your mind. If you lost twice, it's in your mind. From day one, I was always taught to be a winner. No matter what, be a winner. Push yourself to the limit. Stay focused. And be the best that you can be.
Okay, some scenes there from when the fight was announced. Marshall, I'm going to start with you, and I'm actually going to start with Mayweather, self-proclaimed the best ever. And you heard him there. This is the right fight, obviously, but he said this is the right timing. I don't want to go too much into the fight build-up. I think we've covered that now. It's fight week. So let's look at some of the stats. A guy who's 47-0 is entitled to call himself the best ever, but is he?
Not in my view. He's probably the best of his current time. You just have to look at the people that he's fought and he's beaten. You know, he's a 5-weight world champion. You know, he's a money-making machine. He's gifted, he's talented, skillful, and he still has that precious O. But he's not the greatest of all time for me. He's not he's not the best ever.
Okay, Colin, let me come to you on that point. Money Mayweather, best ever. Great record, 47-0, never defeated, always won. Surely he's entitled to see himself as the best ever, and he is probably the best ever.
Well, look, he's chasing the boxing record of 49-0, so you've got to put him there among the greats. But I mean, when you say best ever, you've got the likes of Ali, you've got the likes of Sugar Ray, you've got the likes of Tommy Hearns. So, and you know, when you put Mayweather in there, you've got to say yes, he does rank among the best of world boxing. But whether he's the best, well, I think we'll have to leave that for after he's retired and make that judgment. Because look, you look at it, all these guys, Muhammad Ali said he was the best, and I'm not sure many would disagree with that. But with Mayweather, it's hard to say.
Okay, let me ask you on that point, actually, before we also look and address some of the people Pacquiao has faced. But in order to be great, you have to beat some great combatants and great opponents. You talk about the current time he is in now. If Mayweather beats Pacquiao, is there any? I mean, surely it's undisputed. Is that what it needs now for him to be?
Yes, this fight had to happen. But purely from the basis of if Mayweather's never fought Pacquiao, it would always be just that lingering thought in his mind. Or he'll walk down the street, he'll see fans, and people will say, well, you didn't fight Pacquiao, so you can't really call yourself the best of your generation, or you can't be really considered to be in as one of the best ever. Because all the other greats before him fought everybody. And this fight was essential for his legacy. This fight is all about legacy. It's all about who really has the right to call themselves the best of their generation, of their time.
Colin, on that point, I'd like to come to you. We've seen a lot in the build-up about the both personalities. We've probably got a little bit of a taste there. Manny's a much more humble guy, a much more religious guy, and that came across in that press conference to launch the fight. But I want to ask you this time about Floyd. Do you think that the general feeling out there where many people seem to support or seem to expect him to win because he is that good in the ring, but kind of don't mind the thought or the feeling that he might lose, or they actually want him to lose because Manny's such a nice guy?
I think you've got to say a little bit of both. Money is a bit of a very abrasive character. He flaunts his money, he flaunts his skills, he flaunts his talent. But hey, look, that's what genius is about. Money is a more understated kind of guy. He's your guy next door, a bit like you said, the girl next door. You probably think you'd see Money on the streets, you'd stop by and say hello, give you a handshake, a hug, or something like that. But if you do meet Mayweather anyway, he'd probably look at you like someone the cat dragged in. So I think that's a little bit of a difference between the two men, and that's why I think most people want this unknown person from nowhere, from the Philippines, and he's so humble, so understated, so could be a friend, as opposed to Mayweather, but. Look, like I said, genius has never been genius has never been humble. Genius is always condescending, and you've got to give it to Mayweather. He is a genius in what he does, or at what he does.
Okay, when we come back after the break, Marshall, we're going to be doing some comparison, focusing really on the 5 or 6 fighters that they both faced. But before we go into the break, I want to talk a bit about Manny. Give us your impression in the ring. Completely different style. Mayweather, the king of defense. Manny's the king of aggression.
Yes, Manny's a front foot fighter. Very aggressive, fast hands, throws punches from so many different angles. Excellent left hand that he has. I mean, it's his power shot. But people forget the fact that Manny is also very, very quick-footed. He works very fast, very accurate, and nothing that Mayweather would have seen before.
Okay, well, after the break, we're going to look at the fighters that they've both fought against and see if you can work out who might win based on their records. See you after the break. Welcome back to the conversation. The best ever. I mean, does a 47-0 record not allow you to make that claim? Let's see what others think. All those tweets we saw there, it's clear that the world is split, but definitely excited. Marshall, and let's start with the 5 fighters, and I'm going to start with you. Firstly, let's probably look at De La Hoya, a man that they fought at different stages of the end of his career. Can we read anything into who's favourite from this fight, from the performances against Oscar?
I don't think you can read too much into it. Pacquiao fought De La Hoya very much later in his career, where as opposed to Mayweather fought him still pretty much in, at the early part of his decline. Still very much the peak, the big pay-per-view man, the pay-per-view king that he was. I wouldn't look too much into that, but what did really, really stand out for me is the sheer power that Pacquiao did carry in his fight with De La Hoya.
I mean, look in that fight, De La Hoya, Pacquiao ended up with a TKO win, De La Hoya quitting on his stool after the 8th. Mayweather took him to points, but as you said, maybe it's because of different stage of the career. Colin, let me come to you, because it's not only De La Hoya, they both fought Cotto. There's a TKO win for Pacquiao, a points win for Mayweather, and they both fought Mosley, they both fought Hatton, and maybe there's a bit more to read into Pacquiao Marquez. But looking at those 5 fighters, firstly, it's clear that both fighters have fought they fought the best available from their weight group.
Oh yeah, certainly. And maybe here's something that maybe not many people would have taken notice of. All 3 men, Cotto, Oscar De La Hoya, and Ricky Hatton, all tried to get at Mayweather. They all tried to jump him, sort of try to get at him, and they all lost, because each time they tried to get in, Mayweather is very good at getting the first couple of rounds, reading the styles, and then working around it. And so when they tried to do that, tried to get at him, attack, come at him, Mayweather just quietly took them in, sucked it all in, and just went the distance. But which is why I think as much as a different fighter as Manny is, he's got to look at it and try and be a bit more, should I say, not so brash in getting at Mayweather. He's got to fight with his head rather than with his hands.
Okay, but Colin, I'm going to come to you, because you make a very good point there about the stars, but also something, especially if you look at Hatton, who was coached by Mayweather at the time, and also the fact that Freddie Roach himself has had a go at coaching one of the people that Mayweather's faced. Isn't it fair to say that the point you're making is that Mayweather's adaptable, and whoever comes at him in the ring, he will take a couple of rounds of punishment, work out in the ring, and find the solutions within the fight?
Exactly, and that's the point I was trying to make earlier when Marshall was talking about the best defense against the best attack. Mayweather is one of the best defenders in the ring. You think he's all about attack, but look, he's got a very unique style of defense. The shoulder roll, he drops his left hand, and then he protects himself with his body with his right hand, and that gives him space to come at you with a counter punch, a hook, or a straight left. So I think you look at defense, and Mayweather is actually a very, very good defense fighter.
Okay, Colin, I'm going to jump in there because I want Marshall to talk about that. I mean, Marshall, Mayweather is the king of defense. It's understood, but he's facing one of the world's best aggressive boxers, a southpaw,
yes.
A man who's known like a Duracell bunny. He's always at it in the ring. He's always on top of his opponents. Do you see this as maybe being an advantage for Mayweather? Is the fact that he can counterpunch against Manny going to be something that's easy for him to use?
Where Manny struggles the most, and it's been shown with his history against Marquez, is with a counterpuncher, and that's the advantage that Mayweather does have. He's got a very much a clubbing style, how he throws his punches, but he's very accurate. He doesn't waste a lot. It was proven in his fight with Saul Alvarez how very economical. Wait, second, bam, straight away, clean lead punch. Sends Alvarez's head back, gets him on the front foot.
Okay, let me jump in there because I'm going to come back to you, Colin. It is actually as much as you've been very, very right to praise Mayweather's defense, I don't think he's faced anyone as quick or as brave or as tactically innovative as Manny.
Oh, certainly not. Manny has got to be the best fighter that Mayweather has faced. I would have loved to see this fight 2, 3, even 5 years earlier, because we can all see that Mayweather has slowed down a bit. I actually thought when Pacquiao lost against Martin that he was almost finished, but his comeback has shown that he's still a great fighter. So you've got to say that, yes, and I think even Mayweather recognizes that, because his training regime is absolutely freakish. I hear this guy is doing 700 sit-ups. He's doing 10,000 punches. He's running 7 miles a day for 6 hours. It's a freak of nature.
Don't forget, he's also chopping down trees. He's gone back to Rocky Balboa days.
Exactly. So you've got to see that Mayweather. He acknowledges, he knows in his heart of hearts that he's facing the hardest, the toughest fight of his career, and so he's working. He's focused. We haven't seen any trash talk from Mayweather in the past. You'd see him getting at opponents, talking trash, all sorts of things. Now he's more focused on his job, which is preparing for this fight rather than trying to get under his opponent's skin. So that tells you that Mayweather knows he's in for a big fight.
Colin, I'm going to take that to Marshall. Marshall, very good point there about training. But
point.
another point, though, is that this is going to be Freddie Roach's, who's Manny Pacquiao's trainer. It's going to be his third time of trying to beat Mayweather. So not so much what is Manny doing differently, but do you think Freddie's... I mean, we've seen talks in the paper about sparring partners being paid to not train with Pacquiao by the Mayweather camp. What can Roach do differently this time?
Well, I think first to look at it from a point that he's been working on his plan for the best part of 5 years. I expect the plan to actually for Pacquiao to box a lot on the back foot. I mean, Colin mentioned it earlier. He's got to go with his head and not his heart. He will expect him to box on his back foot, in and out very quickly, firing loads of combinations, stepping out, coming from different angles, and almost trying to get Mayweather to lead the fight and come forward and make it more of a style that he's not really used to in doing. And he's going to need several different game plans because Mayweather often works out people within 4 rounds. And by that point, Pacquiao will need to change it again and to keep Mayweather guessing.
Okay. Well, what we're going to do when we come back from the break is we're going to try and get some science into this. We're going to look at 4 or 5 different points of comparison and see if we can work out who we think is most likely to win the fight of the century. Okay, welcome back. Now, I said we're going to try and apply some sweet science to the sweet science, which we'll see this Saturday. So, guys, both of you, I'm going to start with records against other fighters. I know they've both got different fight careers, but we've picked 5 fighters, and I'll just go through the records with you, and you tell me at the end whose record you think is better. So we're looking at De La Hoya, Cotto, Mosley, Hatton, Marquez. Now, obviously, Mayweather's beaten them all. He is undefeated. 1 TKO win, which is against Hatton. You look at Pacquiao's record against the same fighters. You got 2 TKO wins, De La Hoya and Cotto, a KO win against Hatton, a points win against Mosley. However, he does have 1 loss and 1 draw against Marquez. Based on those records, I'm going to start with you, Marshall. Pick the better record, the better fighter based on those records.
You have to respect to know, but I think it's pretty even. I mean, my heart says Pacquiao with it purely because of the entertainment, the technical knockouts. I'm going to hold it to Pacquiao.
Colin, let me come to you. Whose record do you prefer against those 5 fighters? Pacquiao's with the knockouts and the technical knockouts, or Mayweather's with the undefeated all wins?
I think you've got to go with his stayer. I mean, Mayweather has shown that he is a stayer. Pacquiao, he's got the knockouts, but I've got to go with the man with the O because you've got to look at it and think, look, this fight is not going to be won it's going to be won by the person who stays the most. And you look at the kind of training that Mayweather is putting himself through, the excruciating.
Okay, Colin, wait. I'm going to hold it because we're going to come to training next. So based on that, we're saying on records, you're both in agreement that Mayweather is actually better, though you both admire what Pacquiao's done, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so we're going to give records against other fighters to Mayweather. Preparation, the Rocky Balboa style against a trainer who's come up against that opponent with 2 or 3 different fighters and tried different approaches. Colin, I'm going to start with you. Whose preparation do you think would work better for that fighter in this fight?
For me, I think it all comes down to stamina because these are 2 very great boxers. They don't give too much away. If anybody gets in a knockout punch, it will be strictly a lucky punch. So I think, and that's why you see Mayweather is working on so much to build his strength, his endurance, his stamina. So I think it'll go to distance.
Okay, so you're going to pick Mayweather as well in that preparation.
Exactly.
Okay, and what about you, Marshall?
I'll go Pacquiao. I actually think the Mayweather stuff is a complete stunt. And I think it's his way of, again, trying to find any little angle to win either the social, the media bouts, and also really just see if he can try and find any crack within Pacquiao. Okay.
We're not going to get caught down that. Now let's go to style. It's the king of defense against the energizer, the Duracell bunny, as we've called him. Who wins on style? Start with you, Marshall.
Pacquiao.
Pacquiao, in a word, Pacquiao. Colin, for you, is it defense or is it attack?
Well, I think for me, Pacquiao gets this because I don't think Mayweather has actually faced a quick southpaw with his style, and that's a very, very unorthodox, unique style that of defense he has. So I think Mayweather's the fact that Pacquiao is a southpaw will give Mayweather trouble in his defense.
Okay, this is a very close one so far. I'm not going to tell you the scores as it is because I don't want to change the way you guys are looking at it. Now I want to look at hunger. And by hunger, I mean who's got more to gain from this victory? I know Pacquiao, I'm trying to put money aside. I mean, 180 million guaranteed for Mayweather, 120 million guaranteed for Pacquiao. So let's just say they're both going to eat well for the next few years. But in terms of boxing-wise, who's got more to gain? Mayweather with that legacy and that undefeated zero? Or are we looking at Pacquiao with the 10th fighter whose undefeated record he would have ended? Marshall, I'm going to start with you.
I think it's even. I think they've both got as much to gain. I almost think this fight isn't really about money. The most important part is the L word, legacy. Whoever wins this fight has probably pretty much got rights to say they're the best of that particular generation, that era. That will surpass anything that the money can generate. So
It's a draw.
It's a draw. It's a draw in that
Okay,
aspect.
Colin, what about you? I want to push you for one, Colin, because to me, Mayweather protecting the legacy is one thing, protecting the zero. For Pacquiao, I think the gain that he gets, despite his losses, to have beaten some guy who's walking around calling himself the best ever, is potentially bigger than anything he's done before or could do in the sport of boxing. So who, on hunger, who wins for you?
I think it's more of a question of who has more to lose than who has more to gain, because both men have everything to gain. And when it comes to who has more to lose, it's Mayweather. Mayweather has everything to lose. He's trying to get Rocky Marciano's record. He's trying to protect that zero. And of course, he's trying to build that legacy of saying, look, I am the greatest. So I think Mayweather has the most to lose. This I'll give to Pacquiao.
Okay, excellent. And then now I want to come to pressure. Pressure is unique. I'm not talking about pressure in the fight. I'm talking about pressure in terms of everything, the build-up, the media, what we're doing here, talking to an African audience whilst the fight is going on in Vegas. The whole world, even casual fans, are going to be watching this. So who is coping with the pressure better at the moment? And who do you feel will be able to cope with that pressure best on fight night? Marshall, start with you.
I think at the minute, Pacquiao is handling that pressure a little bit more. I think Mayweather, who's recently, you've seen there's some challenges that he's had, with his trainers. And yes, I know there's a relationship with his father and his uncle, but normally he starts a lot with his uncle. Now he's going back to his dad's, for this particular fight. All the pressure is really, really on Mayweather. That O is gold dust to him, and if that goes, that's it. Forget legacy, forget everything about Floyd Mayweather.
Okay, Colin, what about you? Pressure. Who's under more pressure and who's dealing with the pressure better?
Okay, I think let me just reverse it a little bit. I think I misunderstood the last question. In the last question, when it comes to hunger, I think Mayweather has more hunger because he has to protect his zero, he has to produce a legacy. So just for me to go back and say, look, on that point, I'll give Mayweather the part of more hunger because Pat Manny has nothing to lose. Now, coming to pressure, I think I agree with Marshall. Mayweather is under more pressure again because he has to protect the zero, and he also has to win to earn that tag of being the greatest. So I think here I'll give it to Manny. So I'll just reverse it a little bit. Mayweather on the last count, Pacquiao on this one.
Okay, well, it's amazing. I mean, I know that it's called a close fight, but even with 5 different sections, I picked 5 hoping they would end up at least 3-2. It's come out the same. You both picked one fighter to win one. Pretty much everything else is a draw. So we can't be quite so scientific about it. So I'm going to start with you, Colin. Tell us at home who you think you will win, who you want to win, and why.
I'd love Manny to win, just for the underdog status, just for the humility, for his faith, his strong beliefs, and his just the fact that he's an everyday kind of guy. Mayweather is just the sort of right up there star that you think, oh, I'm never going to see this guy if I see him. So I think based on that count, I'd love to see Manny take this one. But, from a purely boxing point of view, I think Mayweather is the better all-round boxer. I just think he's a genius when it comes to boxing. I think from a boxing standpoint, totally, Mayweather gets it for me.
So you're saying Manny with the heart, but you actually do think, and it's Money Mayweather with the head, right?
Exactly.
Okay, and I'm going to come to you, Marshall. Manny with the heart, money with the head, which sounds kind of rhythmic there. But how do you read the fight and how do you call it?
I see Pacquiao winning this fight. I think it will go the distance. I think he will have to come up with a number of different game plans. He would have to force Mayweather to come out and fight. I can see a split decision, it being very, very controversial, and them doing it all again in September.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, that's something actually, Colin, I want to ask you about that. That's something, I mean, we saw when we looked at those who were tweeting, Larry King from CNN asked the question, what happens if it's a draw? For you as a boxing fan, what happens if it's a draw? Is it something you want to see again, or is it depending on the type of draw we see?
Yeah, exactly. I think depending on the type of draw and probably depending on the type of win, because look, I was going to mention it earlier. I think this is going to end in controversy. Whoever wins, whether it's Mayweather, whether it's Manny, there's going to be some controversy around this. So I think even though there's no obligation for a rematch between these two, I think at the end of this game we'll probably be seeing a rematch.
Okay, well, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. It's thankfully been less violent than what will happen on Saturday. But Colin, thank you very much for joining us from Nigeria. I'm
Thank you
sure
for
you're
having me.
looking forward to the fight as much as we are. Thank you for your opinions on the fight.
I definitely am looking forward to it. Thank you for having me.
Okay. And Marshall, thank you again
Thank you, Wahid.
for being here. And yes, for what it's worth, I'm also Manny with a heart, but unfortunately Manny with a head. So we'll see what happens on Saturday, but it's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Been a pleasure as well. Cheers.
Viewers at home, you remember the hashtag, it's SNA Conversation. Let us know what you think about the big fight coming up this weekend. See you soon.